Mic check 1 2. Mic check. Mic 1 2. Nothing. Mic check 1 2. Mic check. Mic check 1 2. Nothing.
Ladies and gentlemen, anybody else want to sign up for the speak this evening? Feel free to come up. right, we lost a page. So, Director Inzuli, who's filling in for our clerk this evening, she's going to take care of it. So we'll be about 5 minutes.
I'm sorry. We're gonna get smaller chairs.
Or a bigger stage. Time, I'd like to call this special city council meeting to order. This night, May the 15th, 2026. I call the meeting to order. I ask the clerk to please call the roll.
Councilwoman Graziano? Present. Councilman Andujar?
Present.
Councilman Ritz?
Present.
Councilman Trafficante?
Present.
Councilwoman Vaziri? Present. Councilman Campopiano?
Present.
Councilman Bonanno?
Present.
Vice President Haroyan? Present. Council President Wall?
Here. Thank you. Before I start, I'd like to mention our clerk, Ms. Nelson, is going to be online. She is clerking from home, and I truly appreciate Director Renzulli stepping in to call the roll and take care of the stuff here in chambers tonight. Really an MVP this evening. All right. A little program note, we're going to take public comment first. We're going to take public comment online after that. And then I'm going to be seeking a motion to take the agenda out of order because I think it's going to be important that we address the resolution first. And then we're going to look at amendments and the capital budget, just for a programming note. So if there's anyone in chambers, and I see Mr. Frias is signed up to speak, please state, he knows the drill, state your name and address for the record, and you'll be given 4 minutes, Mr. Frias.
Thank you, Council President. Stephen Frias, 107 Garden Hills Drive. Thank you for allowing me to make public comment tonight. I missed yesterday. I was at church for a confirmation for my daughter. So I'd like to start just by thanking the administration and the council for a couple of things. First, as a fiscal conservative, I'd like to thank you, the administration, for putting forward a 4% budget. The 4% budget I know has been trashed by various people. However, when you're trying to do a 4% budget, you have to reduce or eliminate what I would refer to as non-essential services. And to me, the senior center was not an essential service. Many cities and towns don't have a senior center, and I will elaborate on that further. On the schools, we're level funded. As you saw in the newspaper for the last couple of weeks, the school department is now looking at millions of dollars of savings. They are not pursuing a Carullo action, I believe. And the reason they're probably not is because what I saw of the cuts, none of them are mandated by federal or state law. That's why they probably wouldn't succeed. So I believe that the cuts, although dramatic, and that's probably the problem with a lot of people for them. It was one of the most fiscally conservative budgets I have seen in history of Cranston. Just in generally to compliment the mayor, his administration. Under his tenure, when he started out, there was 197 full-time jobs in general government, not public safety, not library. Last year was 178. Under these budgets, whether the first one or the second one, he's reducing it to 157 to 139. Either version, first version, 1%. That's significant. You've never seen this in history. Mayor Trafficante in 1996 reduced it by 20. Alan Fung in 2009, 2010 reduced it by 38. So this was significant. I understand why people are upset, but I give them credit for having the courage to do it. City Council, thank you for eliminating the funding of the economic development position. This is very difficult to do when you eliminate a position of somebody you know. But if it's not, the taxpayers are not getting the bang for their buck. You can't justify it and go over the cap 4%. Not in this time period. And I'll just add this. You know, if there are other positions in City Hall that become open and he applies for civil service and he qualifies well enough, totally understand it. Do not create positions for people in a time like this. Okay? That's just my 2 cents as a taxpayer. Nothing about, and I'd say this, by the way, about a D or an R. Schools, getting back to choices you have. Tonight, you got to make choices, right? Please don't go over the 4% of my preference, number one. Number two, you're going to choose between schools and seniors. With the changes at State House, Blazewski as speaker from Providence, the $200 million that's been found, the new revenue, I have a feeling the schools are going to get more money. So that's what I'll say from the state. It's called trickle down to the Providence, comes to the rest of us. Senior center, you're going to restore some of the senior center stuff. I get that. The senior center in 1981 in 1980 had like 11 people. It provided adequate services. And then it ballooned to like 32 people. Mayor Fung reduced it by 7. Hopkins reduced it by 4 more to 21. I believe the senior center can provide adequate services as they have at smaller numbers. And the only one that's really, I think, more important for transition purposes is adult daycare, because it's a transition issue. And that program, by the way, it's almost self-funded by outside money. It's like 500,000 of expense, 350,000 of revenue. So that one I would kind of look at, and the rest I would reduce. In regards to the rest of the thing, very quickly, I wish that the fire department had actually done more. I know there's some controversy about this. Mayor Fung in 2009, 2010 got 16 vacancies, and it was 3% to a 1% cut, okay? I'm not hearing anything like that. That's called real savings, not kick the can down the road kind of savings. Lastly, checks and balances, the audit committee. This could be avoided if you just have people who are very proactive on it. And if you don't, or I don't know, the state's talking about inspector general, do an inspector general. I'll do it for free. I'll see you
Thank
around.
you, Mr. Fries. Thank you. Is there anyone else in chambers this evening who would like to make public comment on docketed matters only? I'm seeing none. Tom, is there anyone online who would like to make public comment on docketed matters?
There is no public comment online.
Okay, so at this time, I'm going to close public comment. Okay. At this time, if there are no objections, I'd like to take the agenda out of order. I see none. The first item we're going to address is on page 2. It would be item 7 under committee reports. I will turn the floor over to Councilman Andahar.
Thank you, Mr. President. Just to let everybody know, the Finance Committee did meet yesterday on May 14th. We did take votes. So I urge passage on resolution in support of the Rhode Island General Assembly legislation authorizing the city of Cranston a 1-year levy cap exemption for the fiscal year 2027, not to exceed 4.9% under RIGL, Rhode Island General Legislation Laws, Section 44-5-2, sponsored by Council President Wall and myself. That was basically considered by the Finance Committee yesterday, May 14, 2026. I urge passage.
Moved. Second.
Okay, so it was moved and seconded. You got that, Director Inslee, right? Okay. Can I just speak to that?
It's your floor.
So I just want to make sure that we're clear on the agenda. It mentions not going above 5.5, but as rightfully spoken by Chairman Andahar, we amended it yesterday, so we cannot go any higher than 4.99 if the General Assembly does approve of it. You might also add, there is a Scribner's error, so I'd ask someone to amend it on line 34. It reads right now, increasing the maximum allowable levy from 4% to an amount not to exceed 5.15%. It should read to an amount not to exceed 4.99%. Could I have?
So moved.
Any discussion on that? All right, clerk, would you please call the roll?
Councilwoman Graziano?
Yes.
Councilman Andujar?
Yes.
Councilman Ritz?
Yes.
Councilman Trafficante?
Yes.
Councilwoman Vaziri?
Yes.
Councilman Campopiano?
Yes.
Councilman Bonanno?
Yes.
Council Vice President Haroyan?
Yes.
Council President Wall?
Yes. Now we're going to take any discussion on the resolution as amended. I see Councilman Bonanno.
Thank you, Mr. President. I said this last night. I just want to reassure the public and anybody who's listening that this is a backstop. It's a backstop. We don't want to go this high. All right. I think everybody here is content to stay at 4.65 or lower if we can. But this is a backstop. It's responsible to have a backstop. And we need every option on the table because this is still a developing situation, even though here we are. It's literally the 11th hour for our budget, but the situation is still developing. So to the taxpayers out there, you know, this council has been given a tall task, and we are tackling it, all 9 of us. I'm proud to be a part of that. Proud to be a part of what Mayor Trafficani called last night, the council that's worked the best in his career together. And the reason why we work so well is because we understand that, you know, sometimes things might not be popular, but we need this backstop. We don't want to get there. If you play baseball, you don't want the ball to get to the backstop. You want to catch it. So I just want to reiterate that. This does not mean we're going to raise it to 4.99. It just means that if Armageddon keeps bearing down on us, we have that option.
Thank you, Councilman Bonanno. Any other members of the council who would like to make public comment? I'm going to recognize Councilman Ritz.
Thank you. I just want to echo similar thoughts here. 4.9 is really hard for me to pass. I'm doing it only as a really last resort that this really fixes the problem going forward. So although I'm in favor of it now, you know, I really struggle with that one too. I have some other thoughts. I wasn't sure when to incorporate them into the meeting. I did write them down so I could read them to sound less like an asshole that I'm going to sound like now. But, you know, I do have some thoughts here. I spent a lot of time over the last several weeks listening to the residents, reviewing numbers and thinking about the real impact these decisions are going to have across our city. Where my head at right now is that I believe every department needs to cut back a little. I don't think the burden should fall entirely on one group, one service, one population. Everyone has to share in the responsibility of getting us through this budget. My hope was we would receive a revised budget with an overall reduction of 5% in operation expenses, with hundreds of cuts by people that are running these departments. I'm open to counter proposals by the administration of equal amounts to what I've proposed with cuts and the other folks here. When I look at everything currently on the table and weigh that against the impact on the residents, I'll be honest with you, I'm personally more comfortable somewhere at 4% at the max is where I'm struggling with. Yeah, I think at even 4.5, that gives us room to protect key services while still respecting taxpayers. I absolutely believe we can find the money to restore the senior center and provide additional support to our schools. But I also think we need to be realistic that the senior center may have to operate a little leaner than it does today. We'll find the money for the schools, but it'll still be doing more with less. What I'd like to see from the administration, whether that comes through the mayor's office or through the senior center leadership directly to me, is a breakdown of what a 10% reduction across operations would actually look like, while still preserving the core functions and services our seniors rely on. I think the residents deserve to see this analysis before the final decisions are made. And over the course of this week through the administration, I appreciate help setting up a one-on-one tour of the senior center. During that tour, I'd like the opportunity to meet with each department and better understand how they function, what services are truly essential, what efficiencies may exist, and what truly needs to remain in place to continue to service our seniors appropriately. Maybe it's a bag meal once a week. Maybe we can have a discussion about changing some of the routes with the transportation. I'm available to make myself available anytime this week to do that. I'd also like to say my MBA is in lean operations, and in my professional life, managing budgets and operational efficiencies is what I do every day. I currently oversee a budget that's large, with roughly 1,000 employees spread over five different. Operate on a leaner budget than I've seen over the last over here. At AAA, closer.
Thanks.
I would just say, you know, as a member of leadership at AAA, there was times I would take road service calls when we were in tough times, and we're in tough times here. And I think if that means that the administration has to help call people that are delinquent on tax bills to get a $5,000 reduction in postage, that's what needs to be done. I'm willing to make myself available, not just as a council member, but also professionally to help departments think through efficiencies, restructuring, and operational adjustments while preserving the services residents depend on. If the senior center or any other department wants my collaboration, I'm happy to participate. At the same time, I want to do as much as responsibly can be done for the schools. I've heard different numbers discussed publicly by the school department. I think it would help this body tremendously if the school administration could provide us with a tiered scenario. What does a $1 million increase look like? What does a $1.5 million increase look like? What does $2 million look like? From what I understand, there's already a plan in place for level funding. So I'd like to clearly understand what additional investments actually mean in terms of staffing programs and student impact. That information would help us make smarter decisions. I also do not want to neglect the CCAP in this conversation. I would appreciate a more detailed bare bones breakdown from the administration on exactly how those funds are being utilized and what the direct impact is on residents who depend on those services. And similarly, I would appreciate assistance connecting with the leadership at CPAC. I know representatives have come before us recently. I'd like the opportunity to meet with them directly so I can better understand what a streamlined or bare bone operation would look like while still protecting the residents who rely on those services. I think those conversations are important before we make any final decisions. The reality is we now have additional time with this delayed till June 1st, and I think we should use that time productively. I'd like the opportunity to re-caucus with my colleagues and continue identifying additional efficiencies and cuts that help us balance some of these restorations without putting everything back on the taxpayers. So to recap where I'm standing right now, I'm comfortable around a 4.5% tax increase or less. I want to restore the senior center, but likely in a leaner form. I want to provide additional funding to the schools, but with a clear breakdown of where that money is being used. I want transparency around CCAP funding and impacts. I want direct meetings and tours so I can better understand the operational realities before making final decisions. And I think every department needs to have the mindset that they need to contribute something as we work towards a balanced and responsible budget. You can ask anyone I work with, when they come to me during these times where we're in a budget problem, we're on a cash diet. If we can't pay cash for something, we don't get it. And that's where this administration needs to look at it. If we don't have cash to do something, you have to really justify why we need to buy it. I appreciate everyone continuing to work through these difficult processes. And these are not easy decisions, but they're important ones for the future of the city. Thank you. I know that's a lot right there, but I figure I'd put it out there right now so you can understand where I'm going with the rest of my votes. Thank you.
No,
for the time.
thank you so much, Councilman Ritz. I just want to focus that we will have also time after to discuss the budget as a whole. We're just kind of talking right now about the resolution, but thank you. Those were good remarks. Anybody else on the council? I see Councilman Trafficante.
Mr. Council President, I totally agree with both you and Councilor Andahar regarding the limitation. But let's keep in mind that what we don't want to do is allow this budget to be balanced on the backs of our school children and our seniors. That'll be totally unfair. Every department has to feel the pain of these cuts. Every department. And they should realize that they have a responsibility to the citizens of Cranston to participate and assist. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Trafficante. Other members of the council would like to make public comment? I mean, not public comment, comment on this? I see none at this time. All right, I just do want to remember, even after we do take the vote on this, just to be clear, the line in the sand that we can't go beyond this evening is a 4.65% tax increase. If we get this resolution passed and if we do send it to the General Assembly, then when we come back on June 1st, we will have that area to use, or as Councilman Bonanno stated, it's like a backstop or not use. If we get into trouble down the line and we needed more money because our current budget doesn't look all that good in my mind, we'd have that available if we need additional appropriations. All right, so with that in mind, I'd like to ask the clerk to take a roll on the resolution as amended.
Councilwoman Graziano?
Yes.
Councilman Andujar?
Yes.
Councilman Ritz?
Yes.
Councilman Trafficante?
Yes.
Councilwoman Vaziri?
Yes.
Councilman Campopiano?
Yes.
Councilman Bonanno?
Yes.
Council Vice President Haroyan?
Yes.
Council President Wall?
Yes. All right, that motion carries. Thank you. We will move back to page number 1. If I can find it. So now we'll go to item 4, amendments to the revised fiscal year 2026-27 proposed budget. Before I take amendments, and what we're going to do, very similar to the way we did last night, we're going to take a look at some of the amendments that have been proposed. So everybody has an opportunity. We will recess at that point. for a few minutes, but not as long as last night, I'm sure. And then we'll reconvene. So we'll go into a short recess, not very long, just to see some of the amendments that are proposed, and then we'll bring it before the council. All right, so we'll recess for about 5 minutes. going to reconvene, and if you recall, we're on the amendments to the revised 2026, 2027 proposed budget. We are now considering amendments to revise it. Proposed budget, including but not limited to all expenditures, revenues in any and all departments and line items thereof. We do have a few amendments, and then I'm going to ask the auditor to come up. He's going to have some figures to discuss. I'm going to start off with Councilman Ritz.
Thank you, Council President. The first one we have is section 1107, Municipal Court, 42151, Building Code Fines. It was at $100. We're looking to increase it to $10,000, which is an increase of $9,900.
Are we doing one by one?
Are you doing them individual as a block?
I could do them all. I didn't know if anyone needed to mark it down.
You want to just do them all and we'll vote on them as a?
Sure. The next one is 1203, Animal Control, 43300, Animal Shelter Impound Fees. It's reported at 1,500. The new amount is 3,000, which is an increase of 1,500. 1302, Division of Highway Maintenance, 44200, Public Works Highway Miscellaneous. It's reported at 120,000. The new amount would be 150,000, which is an increase of $30,000. Next one is 1400 Public Libraries, line 56008, Operation of Libraries. The reported amount is 260,721. The new amount is 232,637. The next one is same one, 1400 Public Libraries, 56002, Care of Books, as reported, 111,916. The new amount is 140,000, which is a change of 28,084, and both of those are just reclassifying them. I make a motion that we approve them as a block.
So moved. Second.
Hold on one second. Hold on. I'm just going to ask Auditor Demare to speak on this matter.
Just for some clarification, the library adjustment was just a request for housekeeping. It was just moving a total from one expense line item to another based on the request of Director Gasha. Director Schramm, again, the library category is not 1,400, it's 1,500. So we can just correct that.
All right. So both the last items in the block were library fees, library operation, and care of books. That is 1,500 and not 1,400 in the budget. Okay. Any comments on the block that Councilman Ritz spoke of? I see none. So at this time, I'll ask the clerk to take a vote on the block, the council of amendments that Councilman Ritz proposed.
Just one other, just so they're aware.
I'm going to hold that.
All right. Just for clarification too, this is a net effect that has additional 41,500 that could be used or reallocated to wherever the council sees fit. This will be added to last night's amendments. And once we're complete, you know that we'll have to distribute what we've built up to the categories you'd like, so the budget will balance.
So we'll put that in the fund or the bowl, what are we going to call it? Okay. So if there are no further comments, and thank you for that explanation, I ask the clerk to please call the roll.
Councilwoman Graziano? Yes. Councilman Andahar?
Yes.
Councilman Ritz?
Yes.
Councilman Trafficante?
Yes.
Councilwoman Vaziri?
Yes.
Councilman Campiano?
Yes.
Councilman Bonanno?
Yes.
Council Vice President Havroyan?
Yes.
Council President Wall?
Yes. All right. The next block of amendments are going to come from Councilman Bonanno. Councilman Bonanno, the floor is yours, and these will be regarding the police line, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, Mr. President, thank you.
Thank you.
Last night, I presented on behalf of my entire caucus, our entire caucus, a bunch of proposals that were passed. One of them was a reduction in police vehicles by $200,000. And as I thought about it, there was a tough decision for all of us. So today, I contacted the chief of police because I had heard, or I had imagined that there was some angst and anxiety and displeasure with that. And we had about an hour-long conversation. And a couple things came out in that conversation. One of the things was that the Department of Police had come to the table, to the administration with about $1.7 million in savings in their department. And I hope that, as an aside, I hope that that will be acted upon by the administration before the June 1st meeting. And having heard that information, I rethought about the police cars. The chief was very adamant that cars are an essential tool, such as ballistic equipment, bullets, ammunition, weapons, tasers, things of that nature to do their job. And he also said something that resonated with me. The new cars improve morale. They keep the morale high for our police department. And for this reason, we developed a plan, the chief and I hope this council approves it, to put the money back into the motor vehicle line item and adjust some fees that will generate an equal amount of revenue. So it's a net zero from last evening. And I'm going to present that now. So, well, I didn't write down the line item for the cars. I would like to put $200,000 back into the police car line item, bringing it back up to $400,000. And in the revenue side, in group 1202, I would like to adjust line item 43202, police detail cars, from $500,000 to $625,000, which is a gain in revenue of $125,000. Also in revenue group 1202, line item 43204, administrative fee for outside details. I'd like to increase that from $150,000 to $225,000. I also want to give a brief explanation as to how we came up with these numbers, because they're not willy-nilly. In the conversation with Chief Winquist, who was very gracious to take my call and discuss this, he mentioned that our police detail car fee is among the lowest in the state. And he indicated that an increase in the fee from $20 to $25, I believe it's per hour, is well within reach and will keep us smack in the middle as opposed to being on the low end. And that will generate, based on the 25,000 hours out there that the cars are in use for details, that will generate an additional $125,000, that increase in fee. So these changes that we're making are not assuming any increase in hours that the police cars are used. So it's the same stuff as last year and the year before and the year before that. We're just increasing that fee, okay? The same usage. And the administrative fee, same thing. We're going to raise that fee from $5 to $8, and that will create an extra $75,000 in revenue. So I want to say that last evening was very difficult. This process has been very difficult. And I also want to reiterate that the brunt of making these difficult decisions has landed upon the 9 of us. And the fact that, I'm going to be very frank, the fact that 1.7 million was offered and nobody really knew about it is also a little bit problematic. Whether that number is accurate or not, even if it was 12 cents, we should have known about it. With that being said, I hope that there's consideration for that 1.7 million before June 1st, in addition to the 1.2 million from the fire department, so we can further ease the burden on taxpayers and take care of our young people and old folks. But with that being said, that's the motion. I make that motion,
All right.
Mr. Chair.
All right, Councilman Benal has made the motion, and we're also going to need a second.
Second.
Okay, I'm going to ask Auditor DeMayo to just kind of go through everything and also give the number of the car line.
That's a clarification. The car line is Department 1202, account line item 53201 cars. And that was the reimbursement of the 200,000 to that line item.
Other discussion by the members of council? I see Councilman Campiano.
Thank you, Council President. I first and foremost want to thank Councilman Bonanno for taking this on, heads on, and getting this done. As most of you remember, last night, I did have a little concern with doing this, and I was glad that it was clarified that we had a little time to take and rectify this the right way. And thank you, Councilman Bonanno, for doing that. I also had a conversation with Major Padalano today, and he also expressed the importance of these cars. Actually, it's I think it's 400, but they originally asked for 650, so it was even more. So they did concede some of it. So and I also was made aware these cars are revenue generators. So they're actually an investment in our police and help fortify the safety of our city. So thank you, Councilman, and thank you to the police chief for doing what he did to get this done. So I am in full support of this.
And thank you so much, Councilman Campiano. And I think that probably reflects everybody who voted to remove this from the budget last night. I think at that time I said, this is a hard decision that none of us wanted to make, and it echoes both your remarks. Council Vice President Haroyan.
I just want to make sure I just heard you right. Over $1 million has been offered.
I'm gonna,
No,
I
no.
believe, hold on a second. I believe right now, we're not
Okay.
gonna discuss.
Okay, I just want to say,
I'll be honest, that was in comment. Let me just finish saying. We're discussing the block of amendments, and what was offered beyond this is not on, we're not discussing it now. It is not on the agenda.
better I don't say what I was going to. Thank
Well, We
you.
would be violating open meetings laws. So I'm gonna take Councilman Andujar.
Thank you, Mr. President. I really want to thank Councilman Bonanno and the block for coming to their senses and putting this back in the budget. I also want to ask Councilman Bonanno on the record to make sure he reaches back out to the chief and looks at line item 44,500, which is a VIN verification, because as Cranston grows, you could see in the years how it's generating more money. So on behalf of the residents of Ward 3, who I represent, Councilman, I want to thank you, and I'm pretty sure they thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Andujar. Any other comments? I see Councilman Ritz.
Similar sentiment. Thank you for reaching out and having that conversation. I think, with all these things that we put through, we're not the expert, but I think we're open, if the departments have suggestions of ways to replace the amount that we're looking to reduce with other line items that they have there too. I think we're very open to that. I plan on digging in a little more and bringing back some other things, but I mean, they're the expert. So definitely, I think everyone here is open to doing that. And just to make sure I heard it. So we're basing on historical transaction volume, and the increase is just the increase of the fee. Okay, thank you.
To the chair,
Thank you, Councilman Ritz.
that answer is yes. I just want to verbally state that that's what the chief elucidated to me. Thank you, sir.
Yes, thank you. Councilman Trafficante.
Councilman Bonanno, you did a great job. You had me up until you said it'll make them feel better. Their morale will feel better. Let me tell you something. No one in this city should feel better about anything because we are in a serious situation. And I don't care if the chief is going to feel better because we're doing this. We're going to do it for the right reason. And I'm glad he came back and basically gave us additional monies to offset the $200,000. Because if you didn't do that, I would not vote for it.
Okay. And thank you, Councilman Trafficani. And just Director Moretti, this is on the block of amendments, correct? Okay, I just want, we're not, whatever is beyond that, that's not on the table right now. I just want to make sure. Thank you so much, Director. Your floor is yours.
Just what I'd like to do is have the administration, at this point, cannot support this. I think we need to hear it directly from the police chief. I'm not aware of deals that the police chief has been making behind closed doors. And I think the administration should be brought up to speed directly by the police chief. So I want to make sure that that information is verified. I think it's terrific if the chief has some adjustments that are favorable to the budget. But I also think he's a pretty straightforward guy, and it seems out of character for him not to advise the administration of the deal that was made with the councilman. And behind closed doors doesn't seem like the right way of doing this. And I think it should go through proper channels that the administration should also be advised. So I do not advise restoring any, adding any money in terms of revenues until it's been vetted by our finance director and the administration. And I'll be speaking with the colonel about that. So I urge you not to pass it at this time. You still have another bite at the apple coming up, and to try to provide some ample time so we can have some discussions with the colonel.
And thank you, Director Moretti. I'm probably going to contradict you on this matter with respect. I'd say we have till June 1st. If you have an objection at that point, you find that he's been misled in any way, certainly bring that objection up at that time. I'm going to urge the members of the council not to be confrontational. I'm going to urge passage. I think everyone's had an opportunity to speak, and at this time, I'm going to ask the clerk to please call the roll.
Councilwoman Graziano? Yes. Councilman Andujar?
Yes.
Councilman Ritz?
Yes.
Councilman Trafficante? Councilwoman Vaziri?
Yes.
Councilman Campopiano?
Yes.
Councilwoman Bonanno?
Yes.
Council Vice President Haroyan?
Yes.
Council President Wall?
Yes. Okay, that motion carries. And I'm sure we do. All right, the next group of amendments, I'm going to ask Auditor DeMayo to present, and if it pleases the members of the council, we'll take those as a block.
Over today, Director Strom, Director of Finance, and I were trying to review items to see where there'd be some additional expenditure cuts or some additional revenue. In reviewing some of the allocations, we discovered with Director Strom's help and guidance that the consultant for the fire rescue third-party charges could go up 16%. So the suggested amendment would be moving the revenue line item 101,000,41522, third-party rescue, which is currently 3.5 million, to increase it to 3.6 million, which would have an increase of $100,000 of additional revenue.
I'll turn my microphone on again so people can hear me. Is there a motion to approve that block?
Motion to approve. Second.
Okay, is there discussion on the block that Auditor DeMayo presented? I see Councilman Ritz.
I'll just make a comment. Thank you. I appreciate you still looking, digging in there. I know we talked about closed doors. We just need revolving doors where everything's shared with us, and those pieces of it, and I appreciate that.
Thank you, Councilman. Any other comments? Councilman Bonanno.
I appreciate everybody voting this way. I would not stand here and mislead anybody, just so you know. And I know that my colleagues in the council don't believe that. Please keep in mind that the charter of our city states that a council member cannot direct the chief or department head to do anything. I did not. I asked questions
Hold on.
and I
We're gonna
received
keep order.
answers.
Thank you.
It's not off topic. It's about the amendment. I asked questions and I received answers. That's not good for the administration. It's kind of too bad.
Thank you, Councilman. Any other members of the council who would like to speak on the block that Auditor DeMayo spoke of? I'm seeing none. I want to also thank Auditor DeMayo because last night he kept going in, trying to find more savings, and I do appreciate it. He has been a great help through this whole process. So if there is nothing further, I'm going to ask the clerk to please call the roll.
Councilwoman Graziano? Yes. Councilman Andujar?
Yes.
Councilman Ritz?
Yes.
Councilman Trafficante?
Yes.
Councilwoman Vaziri?
Yes.
Councilman Campopiano?
Yes.
Councilman Bonanno?
Yes.
Council Vice President Haroyan?
Yes.
Council President Wall?
Yes, and that motion carries. And I don't believe we have, I'll ask the members of the council, any other amendments this evening? Let me just check. Is there something else, Auditor DeMayo? Okay, I was just going to ask if you could tell us what the total is of the amendments and allocation changes have been made.
Thank you, Council President. At this point, the amendments from last night And tonight, we currently have available to use as the council sees fit, $2,041,789.
Say again, please. 2,041,089.
$2,041,789.
That's total of savings and the increases that's the
Correct.
net of both.
That's the net effect of increased revenues and reduction in expenditures.
Everything that was amended and changed last night and tonight.
That is correct.
Okay. So that's what's in the fund. Now, I'm going to ask the council attorney, at this time, is this something more? At this time, I'm just going to ask, if we were of the inclination to separate that amount and send them to the schools, we'd do that now, correct?
Could if you wanted to, or you could wait till June 1st, but the budget is now balanced, correct? So revenues equal to expenditures, correct?
Once you allocate the $2,041,789, it will balance.
Okay, so I think we should actually take an allocation of that $2 million now, subject to the June 1st meeting that we're going to have after this publication. So yes, so that way in other words, if you don't allocate it, you're going to just have a pot of money sitting out there. So I think it should be allocated, subject to change, obviously.
Auditor DeMayo, do we have that? And I tell you this, it would be my suggestion for the members of the council to split the allocation in the fund right now, or the pot, and split it between the school department and the senior center. I'm going to take some comments before I ask that. If you have that figure split in half, that'd be great. He's going to come up with the numbers. I'm going to recognize Councilman Andujar.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just want some clarification on the sale of a school. Chester Barrows, I believe there was an agreement for $750,000. Just so the public knows, where is that money going? How is it being spent? Is it going into capital? Is it coming into this side of the budget? So if somebody from the administration could just clarify that for us, so that way we're on the same page, and to make sure that those $750 are not in these $2 million.
So I don't think the finance director, he was in the middle of something. You heard the question, correct? It has to do with, could you just
The
restate?
Chester Barrows School, if you could just explain that.
The sale of Chester Barrows?
Is that money coming into this, or is it going into capital?
That money, my understanding, Director Moretti can clarify it if I say something wrong. There's an agreement between the school and the administration that at the time of sale of that property, whatever that sum of money is, say it's $1 million, just to throw a crazy figure, 750,000 would be directed to the school department for capital expenditures. I believe it has to do with their certain programs that they're having, that they were going to use the building for. And the balance of that will go to the school, city for monies that are going to be allocated and put back into the unfunded reserve, not unfunded, the reserve account and the rainy day fund. So that's the split and allocation between whatever the sale price is of that particular parcel.
You still have the floor. You still have the floor, Councilman.
Thank you, Director. Is that something that's in writing currently, or is that something being worked on?
Is that still being worked? We have an email, I know that. Right.
Say again?
To clarify, it's not maintenance of effort, it's a one-time deal.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you're going to give, if I heard correctly, but I want to address, is it in writing anywhere? I think that was the councilman's. Is there a document that says this is what they're going to do? Come on up, come on. Just so we know.
Yeah, there's an email, but Solicitor Malay has been asked to reduce that to writing.
The council would have to approve that, right? It's an allocation of city funds. Right, that's a school building.
But that's,
It's owned by the city, or is it owned by the school? So to the extent that we should have a resolution allocating those funds as stated, as recommended by the administration, but so that way there's no question that where those funds are going to go.
That's why we wanted an agreement.
Right.
It's in process.
So you have the agreement, but it's going to be subject to ratification by the city council.
That makes sense.
Okay, thank you. We don't know what
Yeah,
price-
you don't know what the sale price is. We get that. But we do know that the school committee or the school department is going to get $750,000 for capital improvements on their buildings.
There's an agreement, it's an email exchange with the superintendent and others to say that's what the agreements, the business terms that to be reduced to writing and certainly run it by
Okay,
the.
so
by
we should, the council should expect to see that, not at this
I'll-
council meeting.
we'll-
apparent-
We'll
but-
follow up with the solicitor Malay.
Okay, very good. Hopefully soon. Did you have anything further? I'll take other comments.
Thank you, Mr.
on that
President. I'm all
matter.
set.
Okay, other comments? I see Councilman Trafficant.
Mr. Moretti, I understand what you just said, but you have a second school, I'm sorry, Waterman. Is that money going to go to the rainy day fund for the city?
Yes,
Okay.
that, again, that's the intention, correct?
So, all right, now you're gonna put your communications director hat on, Ms. Renzulli.
I just want to say that the email is, it ties both of them together. So I don't know, I don't think that the $750,000 is necessarily tied just to Barrows. I think it's
that the
as
way you
upon
understand it?
selling both. That will have to be in the agreement with Mr. Malay, how it's,
I was in
worded.
the room when it was agreed. I think the superintendent, that's why we reduced
Okay.
things to writing. But I was in the room where it was verbally agreed between the mayor and the superintendent for the sale of, regarding the sale of Barrows, the proceeds from the sale of Barrows, of which $750 would be directed to the school capital fund on a one-time basis for their improvements.
Okay, Director Strom, you have something to add to that?
That's exactly why things have to be.
That's why we need to
in
be
writing.
writing. Yes, thank you. Director, and ratified, by the way. Thank you so much.
And I just want to say that I was there also, it was verbally, but then it was sent by email by the superintendent.
So
Describing,
we have this kind of the substance, some
That's right.
broad stroke. When the council receives it, I'm sure we'll get the recommendation on all the
Right.
details that Solicitor Malay is going to give us, and we will ratify it or
Right.
put it before us for ratification at that time.
sounds good.
All right, thank you so much, Director Strom. Do you have something else?
I
Yes.
just wanted to mention one thing
Do you want to say it in the microphone?
about the senior services and senior center. And there was some discussion that you wanted to share it so much for the senior center and so much for the school. Am I correct?
I suggested to the members of the council that we split whatever
Yeah.
allocations, amendments that we made, the revenue from those that are in the pot right now, that we split it between the senior center and the school department. That would be my recommendation for my colleagues.
So because the senior center has different divisions, how are we going to split that money into the various divisions of the senior center?
I don't believe,
So my recommendation was we'll just put it in one line item for now.
Okay,
And then we'll give the administration time to reallocate, or the council can reallocate once we get to the June 1st date.
okay,
So but I think, just so we have expenditures matching revenues,
right.
and we know where they're going, because otherwise we're gonna have a pot of money that's not allocated, right?
And it's not going to be distributed properly within the senior
Correct.
center.
Right. So I mean, that's my recommendation. You're the finance director, so, but that's what I think how we
There's
should.
not an issue with the school.
Yeah.
no, it won't be an issue with the schools. I would assume because the administration does have control over the senior center, that they would have some input with the director. I know he hadn't been here the last couple of nights we met, but I'm sure the director would have some input. I'd be curious to hear anything he had to say. So any other discussion on that block of amendments? Oh, no, wait, we already did the block amendments, my bad. Any other discussion regarding the Barrows, this item? Let me take you and then I'll take Rich, just because you're gonna mess me up if I don't go around.
All right, thank you, Councilman. So I'm a little confused. Has Barrows been sold or is
No.
just an agreement to be sold?
It's an agreement that when it's sold, the school department will get $750,000. They're gonna give us all the information that's been verbally agreed upon by the administration and the school department. They'll come before us, we will ratify it, or I guess not ratify it at that time, And then we'll have all the legal lines. Is that about the substance of it, Director?
That is, I should probably add, because we want to surprise the council, part of that agreement also was that the superintendent wanted to retain Arlington, not decommission the school and use it for some of her early learning programs, pre-K programs. So the intent is to Arlington to continue, but in the form of the consolidate pre-K in Cranston under the superintendent's control.
So, Director, I just want to make sure, though, that because these are city assets and the money's being allocated, you may have an agreement with the administration and the school department, but I just want to make it clear, that's all subject to, these are city properties, they're all subject to ratification by the city council, much like we ratified the sale of that property that was for sale, where the money was going to go to the fire department, right, to 250. Like that. I just want to make sure that we have a clear record, because you have an agreement with the school, these gentlemen and ladies may not agree with that, so it's subject to ratification.
With all due respect, I heard you the first time. Thank you.
No, I appreciate it. But I want to make sure, that's all.
Sure.
It's important to have a record of where this money is going.
Sure.
Thank
I
you.
don't, to from right to Arlington, you don't need an agreement because it still stays within the school
Still
department.
stays. Okay, very good. Thank you.
Hold on. So I want to thank you for clarifying that.
You still have the floor.
Okay, I want to thank you for clearing for that. And we don't actually know a sale price yet. So, I mean, it could be, so no matter what that sale price is, only 750. We hope we get 750, then above that.
The school is still being used. It's still got kids in it. We can worry about that when it comes up.
Councilman, I'm gonna go in the order. We're gonna maintain order. All right, are you?
I am done. Thank you.
All right, Councilman Ritz.
So I was just doing some math over. I guess I just had a couple questions. So we have the 2 million, and then we have from fire potentially 1.2 million back that they'd offer. I know we don't have it yet. So we have 3.2 million, 750 from the school. So we have 4 million. So potentially we could give the senior center if all this adds up over here, it's $4 million is where we're coming out with. So where I'm at, so we're at 2,041,000. Fire offered potentially.
Hold on, Councilman Ritz. I think we're just talking about right now the sale. The sale, is that what you're talking about?
I guess before we voted on where we were allocating the money, I was just trying to.
We haven't voted on that yet. So
Okay.
we kind of went off topic. I was gonna make a suggestion at that point.
I'll hold
but
my
I'm
question
only
then
gonna have
till-
one
till
topic
after.
at a time, but thank you.
I'll
So we're
wait.
talking about the sale agreement just with the school department regarding the 750 that's going to the school. So I'm going to recognize Council Vice President Haroyan.
I'm a little confused here. It was my understanding that Cranston Public School Department planned to use Chester Barrows for special ed students that were being bused out of the city. But since the city would like to sell the school, they made a one-time agreement to pay $750. Is that what I just heard or no?
750,000.
Hold on. I'm gonna just ask for the people who are actually, we don't have anything in writing. For the people in the room, I may need you again, Director. Sorry, I need you again just to answer this question. Because right now, there is no legitimate agreement until it's ratified, stated more than once by Attorney Marcello. Hold on, you can ask your question. I just want to say, so there's no agreement because we haven't ratified it. There's like a gentleman's agreement. That's what Director Moretti said. When they put it in writing, it will come before us. All right, so Director, do you want to add anything?
Yeah, correct. I'll emphasize, it has been agreed that the superintendent is looking for Arlington for her needs. And she can relinquish or decommission both Barrows and Waterman School when it's time. At that point, they would go for competitive sale through the proper process and channels. And upon receiving the proceeds, $750,000 would be designated, earmarked, and reserved, provided to the schools on a one-time basis for their capital funds, so for their capital needs. Did that answer it?
What if it didn't sell for over 750,000? Just say.
We could put that in the agreement. I think it'd be extraordinary if it doesn't, but we could provide for that.
Thank you.
You know, it was just brought to my attention by Attorney Marcel. We're kind of getting far off the budget process because this money isn't in any of the documents. So we haven't even agreed upon it. It's not in the capital budget. It's not in the operating budget. So it's a good topic for a council meeting, but not this council. So I'm sorry that I would have to, and advice of counsel. All right. So now I would like to propose, and then we can open that discussion. I know Councilman Ritz, I believe you had some comments on that matter. I would propose that this pot of money or fund of money that we found through our amendments, the $2,041,789 are split down the middle between the senior center and the school department. That is my proposal. I'm certainly, before I even ask for a motion, I certainly will listen to any comments. This is kind of a little out of the ordinary, all right? And I'll start with, not right, I'll go right around. I'm gonna go around this way and then I'll go around back. Okay, Councilman Campion.
Thank you, Council President. So we're talking about splitting what we did in amendments. Are we basing what we have on the 4% levy or the 4.64 levy?
This is based on a 4.65 levy. Because that was in one of the amendments, the approved, yeah.
Okay, so I just wanted to clarify that.
Yes,
Thank you.
good question though. So this is based on the levy at 4.65 and the additional amendments that were made, which comes up the total of the figure I gave you.
So that 2,041,000 is the 6.4, which is above the 4, plus the amendments.
Yep,
Just
correct.
wanted to clarify that. Thank you.
Nope, good, excellent question, excellent question. Councilman Andahar.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just really want to thank every single one of you. We came together, we found this, it's not over yet. I especially want to thank Councilman Bonanno for finding extra savings and coming to the table. So with that, I will be in agreement with the president and his motion.
Thank you, Councilman. Councilman Bonanno?
Thank you, Mr. President. I will support what the president has suggested. Basically, it's $1 million for the schools at this point and $1 million for the senior center. I don't think our work is done. And frankly, I don't think anybody who has an office in this building's work is done. We still have to get before June 1st. I am hopeful that there can be more collaboration, and there could be, some additional funds that are coming this way for us to be able to figure out where to put things back. But we had a Herculean task, and while this has been very difficult, we've all put the work in, and I'm very proud to be a part of the body that is really trying to do the best for the taxpayers on one side and city services on the other, and all our public employees. We're trying to meld all that together into this pot to get everybody to be where they need to be. It's hard, and I feel like this is a good starting point, but I do want to echo what Councilman Andahar has said privately. We still got work to do. It's not over yet.
Thank you, Councilman. Councilman Ritz?
Thank you. Yeah, I'm, kind of the same sentiment here. I'm really happy with it. I don't think I'm in favor of allocating the money right now. Where I would like to be is stay at the 4.65, 1.5 to the senior center. And I'd like to wait and see what we get from fire, because if they were to give us the 1.2 million, we could 80% fund the senior center, give the schools almost $2 million, plus potentially sell that building, which gives them over $2.5 million. So I think the numbers are really coming in the right way. And like others have said, I think we have some more work to do and we can get some more money there. But I would maybe wait on allocating the money till we can wait to see what fire has for us.
I just want to make sure I'm saying correctly. Tonight, we do have to pass a budget and make allocations this evening. We still gonna have, as I said before, another bite at the apple on June 1. But we have to leave here on the 15th with a budget as a council. So we do have to make allocations this evening. But I get what you're saying. Logically, you're thinking there may be something else and we're all hoping for it. And I'm hoping for it as well. But we have to make allocations this evening. Thank you, Councilman Ritz. Councilwoman Graziano.
Thank you, President Wall. Yeah, I'm pleased this evening and I will be supporting the split on the $2,041,000. But I do hope that we can find some extra money in working with the unions and see where we can get for the June 1st meeting. So I'm really hoping that is a possibility, because I do think the senior center needs more money and obviously the schools need more money. And I'd also like to revisit the CCAP underfunding. It was $135,000. So I'd like to understand that a little more in the next few days to find out if we should be also allocating some of that money back towards CCAP. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Graziano. I'm just going to ask, the order just stepped in. I'm going to then take Council Vice President Haroy.
As a whole, just to go over what we've done, as of tonight, we have to pass a balanced budget. I know there's been a lot of speculation that there's additional funding, additional givebacks, additional revenue that we can disperse. Currently, we have to work with what we have. Currently, we have to allocate right now $2,041,789. That's the focus. I mean, our goal as a whole, as we discussed, is to find other funding to fund these positions of these departments. But right now, we have to focus on what we have at hand, not being guaranteed what's coming forth.
Thank you, Order to DeMayo. Council Vice President Haroy.
I would like to echo what's been said. We all came together as a council and worked together. Some of the things we did were very uncomfortable, but we put a lot of thought and effort into this. This was not an easy task. I think it's been eye-opening to find out that 2 different departments have been trying to meet with administration and actually make some concessions and give back some money, and it hasn't been done. I think we all need to open our eyes to that also. It shouldn't have gotten this far. It's very disappointing. I know that we still have time to make more cuts, and that might be something we all need to consider if jobs are not being done properly. I will be supporting this in full. I will be happy to fund both of the 2 departments mentioned. I would also like to look at CCAP also more in depth, and hopefully we can find more money before June 1st. If we can all come up with this, I don't know why administration couldn't. It's very sad.
Thank you, Council Vice President. Councilman Trafficant.
Mr. President, I'm pleased. I'm not happy, of course, because we still have a lot of work to do, and hopefully, with the senior center, we're short about $700,000, and I'm hopeful that we could, through negotiations, provide that kind of money back to the senior center. I have a question, though. I'm going to assume the best case scenario. Let's assume everything works out with negotiations with the unions. All right, we get that. I'll use the number 1.2 million. Does that mean it goes over the 4.65?
Say that again, because
If we get the additional monies from the unions.
no, that would be
Negotiations.
savings. That's a revenue, so we wouldn't.
All
Yeah,
right, so it doesn't impact
No.
that 4.65 at all.
yeah, that's savings. Yeah, that would be. Yeah, so so
Expense reduction.
you've cut your expenditures.
correct.
Yeah, so that'd be perfect. Yeah,
Thank you very much.
so that doesn't go into the.
But-
Yeah,
I want to thank my fellow council members. I think we did a great job tonight. We're on our way to solve the major problems.
and thank you, Councilman Trafficani. I missed you the first time, but I won't miss you this time. Councilwoman Brazieri.
Thank you, President Wall. I'm definitely in support of splitting the money between the schools and the senior center. I don't think it's enough, but I think we're in the right direction. I also want to echo Bridget on the CCAP. I'd like to learn more about that and try to get them some more funds. And I think we wrote ahead, but just for clarity, we can still make amendments until June 1st.
We can make, when we meet again and before June 1st, we can make additional amendments if we find savings, if there's revenues that come in. Yes,
Thank you.
absolutely. Councilman Anderhock.
Mr. President, just for clarification, if we do, and this is hypothetically speaking, if we do receive concessions, we do not need General Assembly approval, correct?
That would be correct.
Thank you.
Councilman Campiano.
Thank you, Council President. I just want to ask, we made a lot of amendments, we made a lot of changes. I'd like to ask either the administration, the order, or are we in danger in any way of a structural deficit? Do we make any changes here where we could have an issue going forward?
I would say probably the person I'd probably want to hear from Director Strom and perhaps Auditor DeMail, if that's okay. Either one, probably I trust their financial acumen.
At this point, I would say no. We have no issues with that have been made.
I thank you for that because, we vote on contracts, we vote on different things throughout the year, and then we find out later on down the line that we made a mistake. We shouldn't. But you're telling me at this point, we're safe.
At this point, yes.
Thank you.
And when the Director Strom says something, I don't always like the answer that he gave me when I was on the school committee, but I knew he was accurate in his calculations. So I appreciate that. Thank you. I see Councilman not Campiano, Councilman Banano.
I do want to say one thing. And now that Director Strom is here, I have a lot more confidence that this will happen. We've made some cuts that might be problematic, or not problematic because he just said they probably weren't problematic, but we've made some cuts that are uncomfortable for some departments. And basically what I feel as though we're telling the departments is, here's your money. This is what you have to live with. So I really, really encourage, number one, the departments, and number two, specifically the finance department and the administration, to go to the department heads and say, hey, listen, this is the budget, live within it. We cannot have overages in these line items. We just can't. We can't have overages in these line items. So if it's getting close, there's got to be, there's got to be a system in place to ensure that the budget we pass tonight doesn't go over, because that's how we've gotten in trouble. And if it's in danger of going over, they've got to reallocate within their department. It's not a free-for-all here. We've got to put some of those clamps on. And I don't know whose responsibility it is. I don't know, who would be doing it. And it's not our function to say, but this is the budget, live within it. We cannot go above it and have another deficit next year because, look at how difficult this was. If we do it again next year, well, there's no excuses anymore.
And thank you, Councilman. I see Councilman Ritz, and then I'm going to
I just have
acknowledge
more of a
Councilman
procedural question. So we're
Blumenberg.
at 4.65 and we're going in the right direction. When would we go to the General Assembly for approval? Because we might not need that at this point.
We passed the resolution we passed tonight. I know there's already been a resolution that the mayor, when he initially proposed this 7.45 tax increase, he did inquire to, I guess, Representative Chippendale. I guess we can all ask our members of our General Assembly to perhaps consider this, and it would go before them. We'd have to do it between now and June 1. We'd have to have that authority. Right now, we only have the authority to go to 4.65, and we only have that authority to go over the 4% cap because the Department of Revenue we outlined areas that allowed us to go, protocols that allowed us to go beyond that. That's all we have right now. So and the truth is, as we said in the beginning of our budget deliberations, one, this council may never get to that figure. And two, there's no guarantee that the General Assembly passes it. Councilwoman Graziano.
Thank you. I'd like to ask a question to piggyback Councilman Bonanno's statement. So this is just for clarity, and maybe Director Strom can answer this. So I'm used to when a department is about to go over a line item, because say you have to, like, this is just an example, ask for extra help because somebody's going on paternity or maternity leave. They do what's called a transfer funds request because they're going to go over. So that would balance that line item. Is there a system in place when a department knows that they're going to go over to notify the administration, subsequently notifying the council to approve the extra funds that are necessary to balance that account?
So I guess basically it's a question we talked about before. When they're going to go over, I know you run weekly reports and you get on the phone and give it to them, but please, and how we can get on.
Yeah. As the council president stated, I run weekly reports and I review every line item. I contact that department head, tell them that they are over budget on X, you need to do a transfer. And if it's a purchase order, if they said, well, we don't have any money to do a transfer, then my reaction would be, then you need to, unless it's an emergency, you need to liquidate that purchase order.
So through the chair, okay, thank
Absolutely.
you.
You still have the floor. Councilwoman.
Okay, also, the department head should be also, I mean, I don't want to put the burden completely on you. I appreciate that and thank you. But also, I mean, I manage my own budget, so I believe that the department head should have some accountability on their end as well, where the administration can hold, you guys can hold them accountable to manage their own budget and bring these items to light. And then, of course, you can report to the finance chair at the next meeting if there's an issue. But I think we need like a, what is it, two-factor authentication kind of thing where like a department head should be held accountable to know what their budget is, and if they're going over budget, notify you just as much as you should be checking their budget. That's my opinion.
Well, the personnel in that particular department will be speaking about the line item or the purchase that they would like to make with the division head or department head. At that point, that person usually contacts me and we discuss whether we're gonna process it or take it from another line item or cancel the request.
Okay, and is that something, through the chair, is that something that you can report back to the finance chair at next meeting if these start to come up and they're starting to creep, so we can keep track of this? I understand we get the financial, but we don't have 40 hours to look at them a week. So what I'm saying is this something that can be brought monthly to the finance chair if any of these come up?
Yes.
And
I
just
can,
before, now we're starting to go away from the budget, but answer the question, and I think you want to answer the question. anyway,
well, I
but
was
we're
just,
veering away from where we were.
to make it short and sweet, I run these reports weekly and I can provide that to the finance chair at any time requested. It doesn't have to be monthly.
Period. All right. Thank you, Councilwoman. Coming right around. I see no other hands.
Chair,
I do see a hand. Councilman Trafficante.
I just hope we keep in mind, and like I said, we can negotiate with our
Oh, yeah.
safety services division to come up with additional money so that we can give the senior center full funding. And keep in mind, initially the budget was 1.5 million given to the Scranton School Department, and that was erased with the second revision. So hopefully we can return that money as well to the Scranton School Department.
Thank you, Councilman Trafficante. Before I ask for a motion, and I'll state it if you'd like, I am going to say and echo what many of my colleagues have said. I'll tell you what, and Council Vice President said to me the other evening, how proud she was of the work we did as a council. And I say that when we made amendments and we talked about it, it wasn't a partisan divide. We worked together. In fact, you'll hear me say, I don't care who amends, we're not looking for credit here. These people worked together. They worked on their off hours. They did research on their own. So I'm proud to be a part of you. We're in a difficult situation, members of the council. And you stepped up and you found allocations for two departments that serve our most needy people in the city, our young people and our seniors. So I'm proud of you. I'm proud to lead this council. And with that, I would ask for a motion to divide the amendments that we made, the revenue from those amendments between the school department and the senior center. And unfortunately, it's not an even number. So I'm looking for a motion to give $1,020,894 to the school department and $1,020,895 to the senior center. I guess we'll have to owe the school system a penny as we go forward. That's a dollar rather, pardon me. Is there a motion to
So
make
moved,
those allocations?
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
Motion made, motion seconded. Is there, I know we had exhaustive comment on this matter. Is there any further comment? Sure, if within reason, because
Yeah, it was part of the prior discussion. I think a very important point, I guess, perhaps, I abbreviated the first introduction last evening in deference to time, and I didn't spend a lot of time, but I think I may have missed one important point because I think something very much needs to be articulated if it hasn't been understood, or maybe something is misunderstood. The administration did meet with all the four bargaining units. Police, we don't have a contract going forward. We're in the process of
Director,
negotiating.
is it all right, and not to interrupt, believe it or not, but at the end of the amendments, I did have some questions regarding after this. I actually have other things as well.
But this is a response clarifying a statement that was
Certainly. I
made,
may
to say
ask
the
it again.
administration didn't
Go right
speak
ahead.
for the unions. The administration included any concessions, if you want to say concessions or adjustments in this last budget that came forward as a result of those discussions with all four bargaining agencies. Some things might not be in there that maybe you've heard stated that might be true or not true. But whatever they were, they settled upon. If they're not in there, the mayor believes is not in the best interest of the citizens or the taxpayers in the city, and that any concessions, perceived concessions, were not necessarily concessions and would have been more costly to the taxpayers, and that's why they were not included in the budget. I wanted everyone to know that we did sit down immediately at the request of the council to go look for concessions as we were directed or asked to do it, and we did that. So I just want to make that clear, though perhaps executive session would be more appropriate to discuss any of those details. Thank you
And
for that
thank you
opportunity.
thank you for that. And I probably will have after we take this vote, just for this, just because I want to keep in line, because I did have a couple of other things I want about amend. No, not at all, not at all. So now we're going to take a vote on how the allocations, the amendments to the allocations are going to be divided. I see no further comment. Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilwoman Graziano,
Yes.
Councilman Andujar,
Yes.
Councilman Ritz,
Yes.
Councilman Trafficante,
Yes.
Councilwoman Vaziri,
Yes.
Councilman Campo Piano.
Yes.
Councilman Bonanno.
Yes.
Council Vice President Haroyan,
Yes.
Council President Wall.
Yes, so I'm pleased to say that that motion carries very favorably. Before I close out amendments, and this is a way kind of segue in, because we're going to meet again at least one more time regarding this budget. And as I said last night, having this length of time perhaps gives us a chance to find certain revenue sources. And these are certainly things that I've spoke to members of the administration, even at times with Director Moretti, and maybe a couple of suggestions that I had on my list. And when we did meet, I brought these up, but I want to be on record. And I also do have a question. I as a former union leader, I certainly will not go beyond anything that's confidential in your any negotiations that you did have. But some of the things I think and to some extent, we considered a great deal about fees increasing them. But I also would like to see, and it's really hard for me to tell, I know there are fees that we can increase additionally, and some that are just regulated by state law. And I don't have the capacity to do that on my own, because I'm going to need a little assistance perhaps from the solicitor's office to find some of those so that I can see which ones we can increase. And I don't like to raise fees on anyone, but we need more revenue. And I think the school department and the senior center and probably other departments would like some more revenue. So I need help on that maybe in the next 10 days. I know it's a short time frame, but if there are any other fees that we can increase to increase the revenue, I would certainly appreciate that help. And I'll make a list. You don't have to write everything down. I'll make a list of what I have. One of the things I know I spoke out to members of the council, even, some members of the police department over the years, and we've been hesitant to do it. And this is something many residents have come to me about. Everybody who goes out and speaks to their constituents hears about the speeding problem, the distracted driving and speeding problem. I won't walk for 1 hour in my ward without at least 5, 10 people saying someone is going to get killed. They're going so fast down Garden City Drive. They're going so fast down Longacre or Pontiac, or especially in the school zones. And I know we've been hesitant to do it, but I think looking at speed cameras, not only as a safety measure, But as a safety measure, but I'm not only flying under that guise. I'm not ashamed to say it also can produce additional revenues because some of our neighbors in Warwick, in Providence, Pawtucket, and East Providence are generating revenue. And I've spoke to some of the people who handle those speed cameras for some of our surrounding communities, and they're telling us modestly that we can net, not gross, net, after they take their fees, we can net between $1 and $2 million. And I think going forward, I would certainly like to consider that. I have some numbers. I certainly would like to work with the administration and the police department to take care of any concerns that they may have. I think that's something, a revenue that we're not tapping into, and I think it'd be necessary. I have contacted both the Solicitor Malay actually, and the tax assessor. And I also see many of our surrounding communities throughout the state have, I guess the state law says the factor between residential and commercial tax levy is a 1 to 5 ratio, 1.5 to 1. And that's what state law says. But many municipalities have got legislation to go beyond that and also have a more tiered system. So the people who are getting larger groups of people, let's say you have many rentals or even larger rentals, there's a higher tier. In Providence, they have 4 tiers. They have their residential, which is a factor of 1. They have small rental properties, which is a factor of 1.75 roughly. And they have their larger rental properties at 2%, and also their commercial properties at 2%. I can't tell you what the revenue is, but it's going to generate revenue if we can get legislation like that. And our residential taxpayers are not going to see those increases. People who are using more of our city services are. I did speak to Director Strom, and I know it was a tight, kind of a tight time frame because many of our healthcare concerns are in our collective bargaining units. But I think we both spoke about with Councilwoman Vaziri, Councilman Bonanno, and myself spoke to an expert in the healthcare field who's a Cranstonian, who's retired, who said, "Listen, I have a great deal of expertise, and I know there's savings that the city could have. If we could avail ourselves of someone with that skill as we're going into our negotiations and save some money, because healthcare is a big on all of our departments, and save some money, I think at least looking down this avenue could maybe not benefit us this year, but going forward." And listen, I know Councilman Bonanno said I'm concerned about the budget going into next year. We all should be, because we saw the large amount of deficit we currently have. So going forward, I think we need to go look into that. Which one? The healthcare? Yeah, certainly address that, because I have something else as well. Certainly.
We're in the process right now of going out to bid for a healthcare consultant. So if that particular individual, if you want me to, if you give her my name or give her name to me, we can make sure she gets a shot at the.
And she's not doing it to profit. So if you're doing it, I certainly will send her in. I know at the time you were very busy with the budget, and that was not an avenue you wanted to pursue. But I appreciate you going into it now and looking at it.
But we have to get a consultant in place.
And yeah, and certainly that would be great.
Right.
All right.
Okay.
And I'll give you her name as well, Director Strong.
Thank you.
And the last thing I'm going to go into is something, I think there were a lot of concerns, Director, as to how can I say, what was not the substance of the meeting, but the council didn't really receive any details on just if meetings were taking place and how it was going. Sometimes we get updates on negotiations. I guess this is similar. So I'll tell you what, myself and the rest of the members, many of the members of the public didn't think anything happened. And also, I know as a former union member and union officer that if I make concessions, I have to take a vote. And I didn't hear anybody taking a vote in favor of any concessions. And if there were other, and certainly I don't know if anything in that contract, and maybe I'm not reading them all correctly, everything in that contract has to be voted on by the members. So if I'm not mistaken, did we get concessions from any union? Did any union vote to give us concessions? And I want the substance of what the concessions was, because I think you're right. We should go into executive session for that.
Give you these straightforward answers. I asked the solicitors to stop me when they think I'm going too
Thank you.
far.
I need people to do that for me. too.
Yeah. I'll go through each of the unions. The Teamsters did take a vote, and they did not wish to give any concessions.
But-
That was a body of the members.
But there was, because I heard on the radio that the mayor said he did get concessions from them. Were there non-contractual concessions that he got?
No, not to my, I
you sure?
can't speak if I don't know what he said on the radio. I can only speak to what I know what
Okay, so
happened.
you're not aware of it. I did think I read in paper and heard on the radio that
So
every union, except for the fire department, gave concessions. That's what I
I
heard.
can tell you to my knowledge is the best I can do for you.
Your knowledge, you have a good memory. I know you do.
Okay.
So,
Now, do I have to mention, I do have to, in all fairness, say that, there were people affected in the Teamsters in terms of that accepted the voluntary, I use the word voluntary terminations. I don't know if it's as eloquent as people like hearing, but there were a number of people in that bargaining unit that did take those packages, if you will. So in that respect, they contributed, if you like to say that,
okay.
and they were reflected in the budget. But in terms of
Understood.
beyond that, which was just an opportunity for employees, it wasn't any layoffs. So in that respect, that they were considerate, or the individual members would want to.
So, yeah, so you met with them because, not for contractual matters, more for staffing. I'm gonna lay you off, or have what
Correct.
you said,
Correct,
voluntary.
but we did meet with
leave.
them and they went to.
Bonus as well,
Yep.
right? That was part of that
Yes,
discussion.
yeah, and then we did go to then they did go to their body and they voted down any givebacks.
So the team says, and do we have any other, so the other collective bargaining units
The
that voted?
laborers were very much affected, if you will, by the number of people that accepted those similar buyouts, if you will. And the feeling was that if they didn't want to be the only ones, and I can understand that, but if everyone participated, we would go back to them if everyone participated, and that'll lead us to the other unions. So that didn't happen in that regard. As we said, the police, they're dynamite people to work with. There is no contract in place, so there's no benchmark, so we can't judge it. And those negotiations are going on.
So currently, if I may interrupt.
So I want to be
the
very
police
careful.
we want to proceed to this one, because the police are currently negotiating their contracts,
Yes.
and you don't want to say anything right now that
I
would
don't think
jeopardize
it's
I
not fair
understand
to-
that.
Not fair to
So-
them, not fair to the
And I
city.
wouldn't expect them to have concessions because they're negotiating their contract.
Sure.
Fully understand.
Yeah.
Um,
In fire, there was a meeting, they proposed deferments. So there were no overall outright concessions, but they were deferring anything in year one to out years and to increase the raises by way of example, to take a deferment on a couple of holidays to the end of their service. And they wish to have an extended year to their contract. But frankly, to offer near 6%, to agree to near 6% increases over the next 2 or 3 years, didn't feel is the best interest of the taxpayers, especially under these circumstances. And that's why we're not reflecting savings of $1.2 million or $900,000 or whatever in the budget, because the mayor could not, in all goodwill, present 2.9 every 6 months, giving 2.9% increases, and thought that would just be causing another problem in the future years. And we'd rather address the problems this year, put it behind us, versus face some tough challenges in the future. And that was the judgment on that. But but respectfully, they came forward in good faith.
Yeah.
And it was negotiated, and it just asked if they could chip away. My words could shave those numbers, And they said, no, their membership would not accept it. And we said, okay, thank you, but no, thank you in that regard.
Which I was, all right, so and I don't want you to tell me the substance of it, but I think, and I'll say this, and this is not to be disrespectful in any manner. It sounds to me like there was never a deal, to use the words of the president, there was never a deal made between the administration and any of the collective bargaining units that was contractual. I think I'm safe to say that correctly, because if so, either it was voted down by one collective bargaining unit, the other collective bargaining units never got to a motion where there was a deal on the table to take a vote.
No agreed upon deal to take a vote. You are
So you
correct.
never got to that point.
No.
Which I would urge you, and this is without saying substance, keep grinding.
And we
'Cause
have a-
Traff and I both, hold on, let me finish. Traff and I both sat on many negotiating committees, and the option of not just saying no way was not an option. So I'm not disrespecting, but I think that the taxpayers do deserve that. And I'm just gonna say that.
And the administration agreed to that as discussed
I'm sure.
before, but something else to notice, time ran out.
I know.
There wasn't a long period of time between
got
going
you.
back and redeveloping a budget, because there's a lot of work that's involved.
We
So
all, and I agree with that. I agree with that.
it was
And-
very brief, that.
We got 10 more, we got
negotiation.
about 10 more days, so
Sure.
maybe let's give it a go. I'd say, I would appreciate that. And I know it's a
But
lot
the-
of work. We did a lot of work in a short amount of time.
The taxpayers deserve that.
I appreciate your candor. So those are the only comments I have about the process. These are things I think we should look at. I'll take a round. I'm gonna go backwards this time, not backwards, counterclockwise. I see Councilman Trafficani. I'm gonna go right around so everybody's.
Mr. Roddy, I understand there's been no concessions with the laborers and the Teamsters, but I have to ask you a question about the police. I understand you're in negotiations now with the police department. Am I correct? Am I correct? in saying
Yes,
this?
yes.
Correct me if I'm wrong. So I have to assume that there's money in this budget for your negotiations.
Yes.
But
I don't want to say something that's.
you can't disclose how much, but
Okay,
it's
I
a
wanna
question we
disclose
may
it.
have
No,
later.
no, I'm not gonna ask that question. Since we're in a situation where we're in a crisis, so to speak, in terms of finance, are you talking to them about getting a zero in the first year?
Hold on.
Because they have open.
Right, it's a division.
So you can't really ask that question. You
No.
can't, we could get a briefing on it in closed session.
Yeah.
But it would, obviously, as a former mayor, you know how counterproductive it is to
I
negotiate. in
understand
public.
totally. I
Yeah.
do.
Mayor, I think it's.
And I think that's a good idea. Perhaps that's the substance of what those negotiations, like we do at many other occasions, we can discuss that in
Mayor,
executive session.
I think in generic terms, I could say, I believe we have clearly expressed the financial condition of the city and the circumstances, and they've expressed that they're understanding and appreciation of our situation.
Yep, and which I think I mentioned, I know, listen, we all speak to many members of the people who work for the city. And I've yet to come from one person, I said it on the radio myself, be in the supermarket, restaurant, anywhere I find them, anybody who works the city says, listen, I know Cranston's in a tough place right now. And you know what? They all, maybe reluctantly say, I'd give in something. Now that number, I can't tell you because I don't have that ability, but I know these are good people.
Yes,
all right?
they are.
And I know you agree.
And they all were. And I have to say, all 4 bargaining units totally came forward in good faith. And that's in all sincerity.
And that's absolutely, thank you. Any other questions for the director? I see Council Vice President Haroy.
I know when I was on school committee, along with other people here, when the school department was in contract negotiations, we had a committee of people and somebody from school committee would be at those meetings. Would it be possible for somebody from city council to be in that room and in it?
I can't answer that question. That's up to the mayor's administration. Under the charter, the mayor has the sole authority to negotiate collective bargaining agreements. You have the obligation to ratify them. I will say that other cities and towns that I have worked for, to make things smoother at ratification time, sometimes at least include the council or council members in those negotiations, either as observers or to get a feedback. But that's totally up to the mayor under the charter, and we can't, that's their choice, not ours.
Thank you.
Thank you, Council Vice President, Councilwoman Graziano.
In that same vein, because that was sort of my question, possible to have, if the mayor agrees, Director DeMayo or no, or he's already in on that or no? Like in the like in these, no,
Again, same principle.
yep,
Mr. DeMayo works for the city council.
that's what I'm at.
So-
So same thing.
Yeah. There's nothing that stops the mayor or the administration as they want, to keep the council informed, to get a sense of the council where they may be going. In other words, if the council, again, I don't want to get too far into this, but if the council say, hey, look, we really need a zero and we won't approve anything above, a zero, that's where you get to play. You have to ratify the contract. So I'm assuming that the, administration at some point would like to know where the council feels where they can go, or what they're willing to accept as a new contract, not only for the police, but for any other union. So it's good to keep them informed. And again, I haven't been here that long. And I'm assuming that given the crisis that we're in, it would certainly be my recommendation from the council that he's hearing it now from individual council members. But again, the ultimate decision is up to the mayor, not.
And that has been past practice.
And would that apply to any concessions that are being discussed now? That same thing? The
Well, we
same
could, well, we haven't asked yet. Actually, we did speak about a little while ago about certain contract negotiations, but we didn't speak about at least we didn't request anything, maybe time parameters. But I think, I won't speak for the director, but I'm sure if he's discussing it and we have a meeting, we want to go into executive session, he certainly would give us the details at that point in executive session.
Sure.
I don't want to speak for you, but I always assume in the past practice, when we do negotiate contracts, there are updates that we do have in executive session, where generally the solicitor is in there and sometimes Director Moretti and I don't know, Mike Favicchio usually comes in. Okay, going right around, Councilman Ritz.
Real quick, I kind of agree with what was said. If we could just have some updates on that too. And then one other thing was just a thought, and it's not a sole thought, because Councilman Bonanno and I have talked about, just love it or hate it with the big, beautiful bill. There is changes in how you tax and overtime too. So I just hope when we have the negotiations, we could bring that into it too, that there is some changes with that could be things. Thank you.
And Councilman, to that point, that has been brought up, and actually the city will do what we can to cooperate in order to have our employees take advantage of that tax law in the way that things are classified in our payroll system.
Thank you, Councilman. Councilman Bonanno.
Thank you. I just have a couple questions. Who, and if this is off the reservation, please stop me, Attorney Marcello, but who negotiates the contract? I know it's the mayor's office, but who are the people sitting at the table?
Typically.
Yeah, it's okay.
Typically, it would be the personnel director, either entirely or at times the finance director. Most often, the director of administration or myself. Occasionally, the mayor may sit in. A lot depends on the ebb and flow of the negotiations to see what personality is. It's an art as much as it is a science.
And that kind of leads into my next question. There are a lot of people who do it on behalf of cities and towns professionally. Have we ever contracted any of those folks to act on behalf of the city, on behalf of the administration?
I think, like I could say this, we believe we know our limitations. And when we need to call in, I'll say the people of more, who are better equipped in those circumstances and more skilled in those areas, they are called upon time to time.
Good. I mean, I know sometimes you and I go back and forth. I'm not trying to insult anybody here. I mean, those people do that for a living.
Absolutely.
And that might be wise.
But we do, Councilman.
I also just want to say that, I think from my perspective, if it's a deferment is a 1-for-1 or, a 1 for a 1.1 or 1.2, that is a concession in my eyes. It was kind of like when we had COVID and people couldn't pay their mortgages. So they took the few months of the mortgage and they put it on the end of the mortgage. Who doesn't want that? You don't have to pay it right now because you don't have any money right now. So you got, in the terms of a mortgage, you got 15, 20 years to worry about it. In the terms of this contract, we got 3 years to creep up instead of going from here to here in a year. So I do want to offer my opinion that I think certain concessions especially if it's as close to 1-to-1 as possible. Or I should say, at certain deferments, if it's as close to 1-to-1 as possible, I would view as a concession. And I hope that,
Understood. It's striking that balance is the answer.
right, okay, thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Anderson.
Thank you, Director. I really don't have anything to say about the concessions. I mean, I'm pretty sure you're working on it, and I thank you. My whole thing is a communication. This whole situation, if we would have known about this sooner than later, would have been, we probably wouldn't be in the situation we're in. And I just feel that although the communication is getting better, it can get better because we're finding out about extra money, this and that, through social media or on the radio. And it shouldn't be that way. So I just want hopefully that your administration can improve the communication to us. So that way we're not in situations like this
I
going
would
on.
defer to Mr. Strom about did he believe we put everything forward we could, and if there was anything we were hiding or anything, I think he should comment on that.
Well, like I said, I don't want to get in a back and forth.
No.
But Mr. Strom, before you got here, we got this thrown on to us in March.
Mhm.
The reports that we were getting were not any way predicting what we're in now.
Mhm.
So I want to thank you for coming. We went from quarterly to monthly. The communication is getting better, but I was in a meeting talking about this budget, hearing Dan York, where the mayor said, oh, we found extra money. We did not get that phone call.
Mhm.
So that was a disrespect to us that we have to hear it on the radio. But like I said, your reports are coming in weekly now, monthly, whenever we ask them, you're there. I'm glad you're here. But before, we did not get these reports on time and the numbers were not the right numbers. So I don't really need a response. I just want the administration to improve their communication to where we don't have to hear things on social media or the radio. We should hear it from the horse's mouth. That's all I have to say. I thank you. You could respond if you want, but
I just
I'm
want to
good.
give you an update.
I don't think he asked your question, though. You're not asking him, you don't have to respond on that matter. We're talking about especially something that just happened. I believe, if I'm totally clear, he's talking about this week when we found out through the Department of Revenue that we could go to 4.65. That morning, I won't tell you what outlet, already had sent me a question about it. I didn't even know about it. I knew about it about 3 hours later when I actually called in to the communication director. I was on a three-way call, right? We're all there. There was a question about the revenue that they found to save the senior center. So now it's not something to respond to, but that in itself, we should be notified because the truth is that was misinformation. There was no money found. We're taking that money from the taxpayers. And when we called you, in fact, I think it was Councilman Anda, I was sitting next to him, and ordered the mail. Ordered the mail, called you right when he was on the radio. Is that correct? When he called you, you said, we didn't find anything. The budget says 4%. So there was no money found. We had the ability to allocate funds as a council, but there was no money found. That money's going to be found by the people out there.
Yeah.
In our pocket.
Well, first of all, I contacted last Friday, Department of Revenue, and I didn't hear back till Monday of this week. And at that time, we went back and forth with Steve Coleman of Department of Revenue.
Bob, hold on. Let me stop you for 1 second. I'm not saying that you did anything wrong. I'm going to say it was messaged and the information was found out by many members of the council and members of the public who texted me that the mayor found some money. And they didn't get this just out of their brain. They received this on several media outlets before the council members had it. That's what I believe, if I'm paraphrasing it correctly. It is not an insult, but I think we got to do a better job to respect the council, especially when in this trying time, because that was not the case. No money was found. Tonight, we're allocating those funds. These people are allocating those funds. They've been getting emails and phone calls and texts and questions, right? Nobody found anything, ladies and gentlemen. We had to allocate it this evening, and you had to make that money, right? We didn't go under the cushions. So I can hear, I know when you found it, because we had that discussion later when we met. But the truth is, it was told to the public in a manner that it was not accurate, and before the council had that knowledge. So going forward, because this is not going to do us a whole heck of a lot of good, going forward, we would appreciate if something does happen, and I don't foresee it, we'd like to know before give us a heads up. Because when you get a call about money you found, and I say, I don't know what you're talking about, and rightfully so, because it didn't exist.
Well, I can tell you, I had no communication with the media at all.
Nope, it wasn't you. It was me.
So so I can't even
Nope.
comment on
And
that.
that's why I say, you don't
But
have
I
to
can,
answer.
I can
You
tell
didn't
you
do it.
though, that Dave DeMayo and I speak recently, almost daily. So we have communication going on constantly.
Yeah.
And I assumed that he had conversation with you and other members of the council based on our discussion.
At that time, you didn't have the information. It was said on the radio that I found the money. It's solved by the mayor. On Dan York, we were sitting there when we were working, and he called you immediately after. It's not neat, we don't have to document it. It happened.
Yeah,
And then he asked you, he actually asked you on the phone, I asked Strom, there's no extra money. It was the way it was stated.
yeah.
So listen, when people are enthusiastic, I get it. Perhaps the mayor was overzealous at that moment, and he spoke in a manner that made it sound like he had found some money. But the truth is, we didn't find any money. We found the ability to tax people more.
Mhm.
So I don't wish to grind down on it.
Yeah.
It's not a point that can be argued. The facts are the facts, and that's all there is. So I don't need an answer.
Right.
I'm about done with it. If
Yeah.
any members have any other questions, I see Councilman Ritz, and if you do want. Say again? I always look beyond you. Director, you're gonna put that other hat on now, right?
Yes, I just want to say that on that day, the mayor had 5 interviews scheduled. And while this information was being transmitted between people, I wasn't authorized to make nine phone calls. I was trying to get the mayor. I can only do one thing at a time. And I also cannot control another person and how they express their communication. I can only control how I would write it. So I just want to address that as your communications person. I think you can tell me if I don't do a very good job letting you guys know stuff, but when you're in an atmosphere where people are going from room to room, I'm on the phone with the council president. He can hear me talking to people from different departments, trying to figure out what's happening. That it was very chaotic in trying to get something done very quickly. So I apologize if any of you are offended by that, but only so many things are within my control. Thank you.
Before I call on Councilman Ritz, I don't, to be honest with you, you don't need to apologize. You gave me the accurate information. You gave me the information about the order, not the order, to the Department of Revenue giving us the ability to go to 4.65. You didn't say that we have money. We have money. So you gave us the accurate information, and maybe that's a way of some explanation, that the mayor was perhaps tired or overzealous, and he misspoke, but we had to hear at that point. So I think that messaging would be important, so we knew. All right, and Councilman Ritz, I'll take you, but I really don't want to belabor this point.
Dead horse, and I know we keep using horse references, but yeah, I think, communication is the key. You're doing a fantastic job, Director, but I think you can't communicate enough to us, and if you communicate to one of us, we have a great relationship where we spread that out. So I think just transparency in that piece too. I mean, we're in politics. We get beat up, every day. We could cure cancer, and then tomorrow they'll post, oh, look, he put all these doctors out of work. We can't win. So just the more information we have is great, but you're doing a fantastic job. So I just want to add that. Thank you.
Thank you, and very good analogy, by the way. I'll tell you, I couldn't do it. I definitely couldn't do better myself. So if there is nothing further, I think I'm ready to move on in the agenda to the budget adoption. So at this time, we're going to look for the adoption of the revised budget for the fiscal year, July 1st, 2026 through June 30th, 2027, as amended by the City Council. It should actually say on May 14th and tonight on May the 15th. So there is a Scribner's error. It should include both dates because we had to. All right. And it would be subject to and contingent to the requirements on the Property Tax and Fiscal Disclosure Act. Say it because he's got the law in front of me. I want to make sure I say it correctly. So I'm going to ask, right?
So everything that the council president just said, subject to and contingent of meeting the requirements, the advertising and posting requirements and the public hearing requirements of the Property Tax and Fiscal Disclosure Act as set forth in Rhode Island state law. And that, again, just so you know, that's the June 1st hearing that we have to have.
Thanks.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second,
Is there any further discussion, although we've discussed a great deal on these amendments? I see none. Clerk, please call the roll.
Excuse me, 8 votes are required because you're above the cap.
Yes, just for the record, we need 8, at least. I'd like all.
Councilwoman Graziano?
Yes.
Councilman Andujar?
Yes.
Councilman Ritz?
Yes.
Councilman Trafficante?
Yes.
Councilwoman Baziri?
Yes.
Councilman Campopiano?
Yes.
Councilman Bonanno?
Yes.
Council Vice President Haroyan? Council President Wall?
Yes, so that motion carries. Next, we're going to look at a resolution by the City Council adopting the revised operating budget and the revised salary schedule for the general fund, the sewer fund, the ice rink fund, the claims committee, insurance fund, and the revised capital budget for fiscal year commencing July 1st, 2026 and ending June 30th, 2022, and adopting the revised capital improvement program for the 4 succeeding years. Is there we got to have discussion on this matter because there is something to say. So I'm going to ask for discussion on the capital budget. Is there a motion to approve for the sake of discussion?
So
Motion
moved.
Second.
All right. Discussion in something I do want to say, and I want to make sure that all of this and certainly come up. This is bonded money, correct, Director? So this is bonded money. It may or may not be released. Just because you have the ability does not mean you necessarily have to release it. And if I'm not mistaken, and I want to make sure Councilman Campopiano and I spoke, before you release, and we're going to request, if it's always the protocol, before you release for any, and I want to make sure I say it correctly, before you issue any bonded money, the issuance of bond, we ask that you bring that before the City Council, all right, for their consideration. In this time especially, increasing the debt service, we want to make sure, even though we have the ability, that it's absolutely necessary. And this council may not deem everything in that capital improvement is necessary at this time. All right, so that will be the protocol going forward. All right, Councilman Campopiano.
Thank you, Council President. Yes, so we heard many of the people in the gallery talk about a moratorium on capital expenses, put a hold on some of the things. So just to clarify, we don't have to put a moratorium. We have a checks and balances here where we are going to approve anything going forward as far as capital projects. So we can still go out with for the money, but the money is not spent until it comes before this body and it's approved.
Hold on 1 second. Okay, so this. Okay, Director Strong, would you like to answer his question? Just so we have clarification on the record.
I had a discussion today with Councilwoman Graziano, and when we go out to bonds, there's a list of the items that we want to bond for, and that's usually what we do is we come before the council to get the approval of those particular items that we're going to bond for and what projects. Now, we also go out for bonding for like just authority. When we do that, does not mean that we have to go and bond. We could hold off that authority for bonding for 2-3 years. It's not that because you get the authority, you have to bond for that amount of money. The other thing, as far as debt service, when we go out and do an actual bond, we try to incorporate it so that it doesn't affect our debt services over maybe a 2-year period. And the first year may only be just interest. It may not be principal and interest. So we try to schedule it so it's advantageous to the city from a financial standpoint.
Thank you, Director. Pretty much answers the question. I like the simple answer. The council is the
Chair.
check out of that balance. All right, I'm gonna go to Councilman Bonanno, and then I'll come around.
Thank you. Director Strom, before, oh, you're right. Before you go sit down,
Don't sit
I have
down
to
yet.
get back up again. There's a lot of confusion by the public
I'm gonna say it again.
that reducing some of these items, these lines in this capital budget will decrease the tax levy. And I know that that's
No.
not the, we're right. I know that that's not the case. I know kind of how to explain it, but I'd rather have you explain it to anybody that's watching and listening. Because we heard, as Councilman Campiano said, get rid of this stuff in the bond and we can reduce the budget by X amount of million. That doesn't work that way.
No.
So can you explain why it doesn't work that way for?
Well, one's
the people.
capital, one's the operating. So
Right.
it's two different things.
Right, yeah.
The only thing that affects the operating is the debt service. And we control that debt service as much as we can because we don't bond for everything that's been approved in the capital budget. Some of that gets deferred to a next year or even say a year after, depending on the urgency and need of that capital item.
So basically, my question is, you know, let's take the Cranston East, the construction of track and field at Cranston East, because we heard a lot about that and led us to the editor and all that for $2 million in here. If we decided we're going to take that out and make it zero, that does not give us $2 million more to expend into the budget.
No,
And I know that, and I think everybody on the council knows that. I'm not sure the public knows that. And that's very, very important for the public to understand because, you know, when we pass this, eventually we're going to pass what is almost $22 million, I believe, 21,770. That's not coming out of the tax bills. That's
No.
not something we can take and give to the senior center and the schools and CCAP and Head Start. It doesn't work that way. So I want to make that point, and I want to see if you can further explain why it doesn't work that way.
it's because one's not related to the other. One's capital and one's operating, just as I stated. And the only thing that affects the operation is debt service, and debt service is based on what's already been bonded and what we've received in proceeds to do certain projects.
Thank you, Director.
Thank you, Councilman. I'm coming right over here, Councilman Ritz, and then I'm coming right down the line to Councilman Trappigan.
Two real quick things. So when we borrow money for the projects, we borrow the full amount. So if we're borrowing 10 million, we don't take it as we need it, where the debt service would fluctuate. See what I'm saying?
There would be, if you don't take the actual proceeds, there's no debt service involved with that particular transaction.
I mean, on the other one, you weren't doing it, but that budget line was so far off. We should be able to accurately do that. We don't take any floating variable rates, right? Everything's a locked rate, so we should be able to accurately.
No, we usually have, before we do that, I mean, like I said, we should get the council's approval, go get our fiscal advisor involved, go out, meet with the rating agencies, because they usually like to, you know, S&P, Fitch, and we go and have them review, and they ask a number of questions, and then they give us a rating, and that rating determines what our interest rate would be.
Thank you. Yeah, I think the Councilman Bonanno, you explained it more eloquently than I could. I appreciate that. So when I repeat it, I'll try and.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman.
Yeah. Councilwoman Graziano.
Thank you. Thank you, Director Strom. Yeah, we took some time and went over today because, you know, like Councilman Bonanno says, like, I have a concern, you know, our constituents are asking us questions. They want to know, you know, why we're going to expend this money and we're not going to give it to the schools. And I think it's educational to show that this money cannot be moved over to the omnibus budget. So one of the items I did want to ask and get out is that some of these line items have asterisks, and that says that they will need additional bonding authority. Others do not, which means tell me what, so I can get it explained to the
Well,
public.
With additional bonding authority, we would need to get approval by the voters. And it would have to go on the ballot, get their approval, and then it becomes an authority that we could bond for. But the council would know what we're going to put on the ballot, obviously.
But the other items would be just an item that there would be a check and balance with the city council, whether or not we were going to start to draw from the funded money that's already existing, because those just requires new issuance before project can begin, has an exclamation point.
Well, we would draw, if the money's been received through the bonding authority, and we have the actual available cash, as projects are being completed, we need to draw to pay off
Right.
the vendor for doing the work that's been done. But the council, that would be at the last step.
Yeah,
The council would know about what
Right.
that was prior to that.
okay. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Yep. Councilman Trafficante.
Just prior to the meeting tonight, I sat with
Yeah.
prior to the meeting, I sat with the finance director. We had a quick meeting, and I asked him about debt service.
Mhm.
And he informed me that debt service did go up because he had to correct the numbers in the previous year. So why don't you explain to the council exactly what took place and how the correction you had to make?
Yeah, if you look at if I ran a report just for municipal debt service, it would show for this year, 26, that we're over budget from what was put into the budget in 26. I don't know where those numbers came from, to be very frank with you. But what was expended was what was required to be paid for our debt service, and that was over budget by a considerable amount of money. This year, what we put in the budget, whether it was 4% or the 4.65, it's still the same. That's based on and I think I showed you a schedule of our debt service, both principal and interest. And it also shows on the sewer, principal and interest as well. But the main thing in the operating budget is the principal and interest. That's a separate schedule for just the general fund.
On the council to know
Yeah.
exactly what took place in previous years and how you had to correct it.
Well, we're correcting it going forward. I can't go back and correct
No.
over
Now,
expenditures.
let's talk about projects. When they want to address a particular project, they go before the board of contract and purchase first. Am I correct?
Yeah, they submit a bid schedule, yes.
Doesn't come before the council.
No, but the council has representation at BOCAP.
That's the point I think the council president was trying to make, is that we like to be informed about the project as it goes through the process, so we're aware of what's taking place.
Well, we can certainly let you know what we plan on going to bond by notifying the council in advance, and then if we get, you say your blessing, we go forward through the bid process. Okay?
Thank you, Councilman. Any other comments on the capital budget? I'm seeing none. I believe I had a motion and a second already. Was that, who made the motion? Who was it? Amelia,
Councilwoman,
Okay, and that was a
Missouri
motion
did.
to approve, for the record, it was so long ago. All
Correct.
right, and we took all the comments, so at this time, I'm going to ask the clerk to please call the roll.
Councilwoman Graziano,
Yes.
Councilman Andujar,
Yes.
Councilman Ritz,
Yes.
Councilman Trafficante,
Yes,
Councilwoman Baziri,
Yes.
Councilman Campopiano,
Yes.
Councilman Bonanno,
Yes.
Council Vice President Haroyan,
Yes.
Council President Wall.
Yes, that motion carries. We're going to move on to the next resolution, resolution authorizing the adoption of the revised capital budget fiscal year 2027 and the revised capital improvement program for fiscal year 2027 through 2031 pursuant to Section 612 of the Home Rule Charter of the City of Cranston. And once again, these should be subject, any bond issued should be subject to approval by the strike that, approval by the city council. Just for the record, I think we've already belabored that point once enough, but say it again. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? There being none, clerk, please call the roll.
Councilwoman Graziano?
Yes.
Councilman Andujar?
Yes.
Councilman Ritz?
Yes.
Councilman Trafficante?
Yes.
Councilwoman Vaziri?
Yes.
Councilman Campopiano?
Yes.
Councilman Banano?
Yes.
Council Vice President Haroyan?
Yes.
Council President Wall?
Yes, that motion carries. Moving right along, moving on to the revised ordinance for making annual appropriations for the city of Cranston for the fiscal year commencing July 1, 2026 and ending July 30th, 2027. Should I say as amended?
So moved.
Second.
As amended. The motion has been made, seconded. Any discussion? There being none, clerk, please call the roll.
Councilwoman Graziano?
Yes.
Councilman Andujar?
Yes.
Councilman Ritz?
Yes.
Councilman Trafficante?
Yes.
Councilwoman Vaziri?
Yes.
Councilman Campopiano?
Yes.
Councilman Banano?
Yes.
Council Vice President Haroyan?
Yes.
Council President Wall?
Yes. Now, because we are going to meet again on June 1st at advice of council to table these two, just in case we do make some changes. So at this time, I'm going to entertain a motion, just a motion. Any discussion on the table? No.
Motion to table is no discussion.
No discussion, just to make sure. So I'm going to entertain a motion to table the resolution authorizing the assessment of valuations and levy taxes and retainable real estate tax, intangible personal property tax for the city of Cranston. It should, that was already tabled on April 29, 2026. Is there a motion to table?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, clerk, please call the roll.
Councilwoman Graziano?
Yes.
Councilman Andujar?
Yes.
Councilman Ritz?
Yes.
Councilman Trafficante?
Yes.
Councilwoman Vaziri?
Yes.
Councilman Campopiano?
Yes.
Councilman Banano?
Yes.
Council Vice President Haroyan? Council President Wall?
Yes, that motion carries. And I'd also look for a motion, once I read it, to table an ordinance fixing the date when taxes are assessed as of December 31st, 2025, will be due and payable, and the date when unpaid taxes will carry a penalty. This was tabled on April 29, 2026. Is there a motion to table?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, clerk, please call the roll.
Councilwoman Graziano?
Yes.
Councilman Andujar?
Yes.
Councilman Ritz?
Yes.
Councilman Trafficante?
Yes.
Councilwoman Vaziri?
Yes.
Councilman Campopiano?
Yes.
Councilman Banano?
Yes.
Council Vice President Haroyan?
Yes.
Council President Wall?
Yes, that motion carries. And I'm proud to say there is no business before the city council any further this evening. I look for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Is there a
Second.
second? All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, signify by saying nay. The ayes have it. The motion carries. Good night and thank you for all who came and participated.